Being 7 o'clock on Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018, I am calling the meeting to order of the Maine Township Town Board Supervisors Annual Financial Statement. Could you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Clerk Yolanda is going to lead us in the pledge.
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can you take the roll call?
Assessor Morning Cry.
Here.
Highway Commissioner Kazmierczak. Here. Clerk Giuliano is here. Supervisor Morass.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Caraboda. Trustee McKenzie.
Here.
Trustee Sweeney.
Here.
Okay. The first order of business is the supervisor's settlements. And I will now read in order of how they appear on your agenda. Supervisor's annual report, general assistant. The following is a statement by Laura J. Morass, Supervisor of the Township of Maine in the state of Illinois and the County of Cook, of the public funds received and expended by her during the year just closed, ending on February 28, 2018, showing the amount of funds received and from what sources received, the amount of public funds expended and for what purpose expended during the fiscal year aforesaid. The said supervisor, being duly sworn, doth depose and say that the following statement by her subscribed is a correct statement of the amount of public funds on hand at the commencement of the fiscal year above stated, the amount of public funds received and the sources from which received, and the amount expended and the purpose for which expended as set forth in such statement. And then there's a space for that attestation afterwards by the clerk and signature by the supervisor. Recapitulation. Balance on hand, March 1st, 2017, $1,672,706. Revenue, taxes, property, $1,131,362. Materials and services sold, 0. Loans repaid, 0. Borrowings, 0. Energy assistance revenue, 0. Social Security reimbursements, $12,960. Transfers from other funds, $20,900. Okay, now I get the road. Interest income, $3,685. Food pantry, $43,269. Total receipts or revenue, $1,212,176. Expenditures, administration expense, $691,449. Home relief expenditures, $163,356. Building and improvements, 0. Equipment purchased, 0. Payment of anticipated warrants, 0. Transfers to other funds, 0. Contingencies, 0. Total disbursements or expenditures, $854,805. Total receipts, $1,212,176. Total expenditures, $854,805. Surplus, $357,371. Balance on hand, February 28th, $2,030,077. And now I am reading the supervisor's annual report.
We need a motion for this?
Oh, do I do it individually?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like a motion to accept the statement, supervisor settlements for the annual report for the general assistance fund. Oh, and I also, before that, I want to mention that our auditor, Chris Scarlett, can you please stand up and say hello?
Hello.
Chris Scarlett is our new auditor from Evans, Pease and Marshall, EPM.
Evans Marshall.
All right, Evans, Marshall and Pease. And he has reviewed these figures and has done a preliminary audit, as well as is here to answer later on any and all questions that you may have. Having said all that, may I have a motion for acceptance of the supervisor's report with respect to general assistance?
Motion to accept the supervisor's annual report for general assistance. A second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, could you call the roll?
Supervisor Moran?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Carabota?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes.
Okay, moving along, supervisor's annual report, general town fund. The following is a statement by Laura J. Morantz, supervisor of the Township of Maine, in the state of Illinois and the county of Cook, of the public funds received and expended by her during the year just closed, ending February 28, 2018, showing the amount of funds received and from what sources received, the amount of public funds expended and for what purpose expended, during the fiscal year ending as aforesaid. The said supervisor, being duly sworn, does depose to say that the following statement by her subscribed is a correct statement of the amount of public funds on hand at the commencement of the fiscal year above stated, the amount of public funds received and the sources from which received, and the amount expended and the purpose for which expended as set forth in such statement. Recapitulation. Balance on hand, March 1st, 2017. $4,884,617. Revenue. Taxes, property, $4,514,237. Materials and services sold, 0. Grants, 0. Loans, repaid, 0. Borrowings, 0. Transfer from other funds, 0. Replacement tax. $73,030. Interest income, $13,198. Mainstay, $14,952. Other income, $87,670. Total receipts for revenue, $4,703,087. Expenditure, township administration expense, $3,892,661. Buildings and improvements, $4,959. Equipment purchased, 0. Transfers to other funds, $400,000. Total disbursements or expenditures, $4,297,620. Total receipts, $4,703,087. Total expenditures, $4,297,620. Surplus, $405,465.07. Balance on hand, February 28, 2018, $5,290,084. All right, having read the supervisor's annual report for the general town fund, may I have a motion to accept the settlement for the town fund financial statement?
Motion to accept supervisor's annual report, general town fund for the fiscal year ending February 28, 2018.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Giuliana, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moretz.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweetie.
Yes.
And now, I am going to read the annual report of the Highway Commissioner. No, I got it.
Need it?
No, I got it. Just, Deisha?
Yes.
And where is that part where I attached the list?
That's the list of creditors and inventory is there as well.
So it says it at the end.
There's inventory.
I got it. All right. Of the road district of the Township of Maine in the state of Illinois and the county of Cook for the fiscal year ending February 28, 2018, to the Board of Trustees of Maine Township. In compliance with the provisions of Section 6-201.15 of the Illinois Highway Code, I submit to you my annual report as follows, showing 1. The amount of road money received by me in a full and detailed statement as to how and where expended and the balance of any unexpended. 2. The amount of liabilities incurred and not paid. If such liabilities are undetermined, they are estimated, and the determined and estimated amount owing to each creditor. 3. Inventory of all tools having a present value in excess of $200. Machinery and equipment owned by the district and the state of repair of these tools, machinery and equipment. 4. Any additional matter concerning the roads which I consider proper and expedient to report. And please note that the inventory of all the tools has been attached, will not be read, has been attached at the back of the Highway Commissioner's annual financial statement. Recapitulation. Balance on hand, March 1st, 2017, $1,221,396. Revenue. Taxes property, $1,845,421. Personal property replacement tax, $73,033. Receipts from other government agencies, 0. Loans repaid, 0. Borrowings or tax warrants, 0. Transfers from other funds, $400,000. Interest income, $3,618. Other income, $55,781. Borrowings, 0. Total receipts or revenue, $2,377,853. Expenditures, administration expense, $284,295. Maintenance, $347,080. Permanent road, $980,642. Bridges, 0. Buildings and equipment, $194,296. Payment of loans, 0. Payment of bonds and interest, 0. Payment of anticipated warrants, 0. Transfer to other funds, 0. Social Security, $39,583. Insurance, $60,432. IMRF, $62,940. Contingency, 0. Total disbursements or expenditures, $1,969,268. Total receipts, $2,377,853. Total expenditures, $1,969,268. Surplus, $408,585. Balance on hand, February 28, 2018, $1,629,981. Amount of liabilities incurred and not paid, $57,754. And as I stated, the list of creditors is attached to the back page. listed creditors, Maine Township Road District, which will be incorporated herein within the annual report of the Highway Commissioner. May I have a motion to accept the financial statement of the road district?
Motion to accept the financial statement of the road district. Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Just to clarify, that it's for fiscal year ending February 28, 2018, also incorporates the list of creditors and also incorporates itemization of the tools as additional portions there. Correct.
All right, any questions? I recognize trustee Sweeney.
Just a question as to other income, and that could be.
Well, majority of that is recouping engineering fees. You know, sometimes the Spaceco, the engineering company, sends us a bill for, let's say, the school district has a project, and then the district has to reimburse us for our engineering fees. So that's other income. The other would be permits for driveways, or waivers. Let's say somebody builds a shed, they get a waiver from us, it's $25. You know, primarily it's fences and driveways. But I think the larger amounts would be recouping contractors' engineering fees that we pay up front for utilities or other governmental bodies that incur engineering fees and then reimburse them.
I actually have to amend my motion. There's also an inventory of all tools having a present value in excess of $200 in machinery and equipment, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Which has become part of this report.
Right.
Okay. So with that, I would motion to accept his report with that amendment. Both attachments.
Second that.
Thank you. Motion and second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, can you call the roll for Joanne?
Supervisor Marasco?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Carabota?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes.
Just so you know, in 3% these things down, we'll be signing the inventory list, so. All right. Now, it had been requested some time ago that there be a draft preliminary discussion of the upcoming budget. And so we put it on this agenda for the first time because there was room. And everybody, staff-wise, worked incredibly hard to these numbers. We've had many changes, consolidations, different people leaving in the township, so these numbers kept changing, and these are draft numbers that are at your desk and also emailed to you that have last year's and this year's draft. And when I say draft, what I mean is this. The actual preliminary budget will not go on file with the clerk's office until April 22nd. That is the preliminary budget that gets put on file for public inspection and public comment for 30 days. And then there is a budget hearing, and the budget will be voted on at the May 22nd board meeting. And so the budget that is put on inspection can always change, So these are even drafts of those, because we are still in discussions on other things. So, Dana, I'm going to call to the podium my administrator, Dana Berman, who is going to give you some highlights of the, as I promised you, there would be 10% reduction in almost every line item, and in many cases far more than 10%. So Dana will be giving you the highlights. She will not go through it every single one. Also, I'm sorry, please keep in mind that there is almost 2 months between now and the budget hearings for the public to comment, to participate, for the trustees to do so. So having said that, thank you, Dana.
Sure. Okay, so you should have in front of you the draft budget, which is, just want to make sure you have them side by side, which is 18-19. And then we have last year's budget, which is signed and passed, which that is not a draft, obviously that's the budget that was passed, that is 17-18. So if you can put them side by side, I think that will help as I just go over, I'm not going to obviously let Laura go over everything, but just want to point out a couple things, but it would help if you have them side by side. So Laura, the department heads, and I, we have been extremely fiscally responsible while composing this budget, but it is in the draft stage. And so let me point out a couple things to you. Okay, so if you can look on page 1, let me start with where it says budgeted expenditures, and those are the total numbers for all of our departments. And if you can notice that most of the numbers have actually gone down. Usually every year they go up a little. So I just wanted to point out that in our administration department, we actually decreased it by $142,000. Our clerk's department, we decreased it by $16,500. Our OEM department, which is Office of Emergency Management, by $14,022. Our senior department by $96,200. And the amount that we fund agencies by $13,140, which we can give credit to the board members for that one as well. So overall, in town fund, we reduced the budget right now, again in the draft stages, by $225,958 from this fiscal year, as opposed to last fiscal year, 17-18. So that's almost $250,000. So let me highlight a couple things of what we did here. We cut positions this year and we saved quite a bit of township dollars in our salary line items. Just to recap, I think most of you know this, when Mary Swanson retired, Marie Daphniski was promoted to her position, but we did not replace Marie's position, and Marie's salary also did not equal that of what Mary was earning when she left. And so therefore, with all the discrepancies, we saved a total of $113,000 just in that area alone. As you know, our maintenance foreman is retiring shortly, as we discussed at the last meeting, and we are hoping to replace him with Mike Simon, who's our current code enforcement officer, whose salary again will be less than the foreman's current earnings. I'm also planning on bringing on a new code enforcement officer with a lower salary than what Mike Simon is previously earning. Last, we are now...
Which is like $20,000.
Which is $20,000 less, correct.
And going from a double insurance to a
I'm gonna get
single
there.
insurance.
I'm going to get there.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And last, we are now planning on replacing Bobby Gannis, which you know Bobby went on to another job. So we're not planning on replacing him. We will revisit possibly a part-timer or an intern, but at this time we're not looking at a full-timer, which is, you know, full-time also requires benefits. Okay, and with all these changes, we must remember that we are also saving, as Laura just said, quite a bit of money in health insurance. Many of the employees who left and were not replaced, we're saving thousands and thousands of dollars in health insurance. And also some of the plans that people have moved up have changed, had family, and are now either single or spouse. And obviously, you know, if it's family and now they're single, that's also a huge savings. Okay, so that's the salary line item I just wanted to point out. If you can turn the page 2, that's our administration page. I just want to point out a couple line items here. I'm not going to go through every page. Every page is a different department. You have Maine State with seniors. I just want to point out some in administration. Let's see where we're at here. If you can look at office supplies, small equipment, which I believe is under commodities. We adjusted that from, that was $45,000 last year. We brought that down to $30,000. Most employees needed new computers last year. Many of them were antiquated, and so obviously we don't need them this year. We were able to adjust that by $15,000. If you can take a look at telecommunications, which is under contractual services, so go up the page a little bit. That decreased, we reduced that by $10,000. We purchased a brand new modernized phone system last year. Our phone system was literally over 20 years old, so that was a must. We streamlined costs and actually saved more money in the long run, but we were able to cut that by $10,000. Printing and publishing was reduced by $5,000 due to our newsletter going down from 8 pages to 6 pages. And we still receive revenue, which you see in the newsletter, from outside advertisers, so that helps us out as well. And these are just a few line items that I wanted to point out to you. You can go, if you like, of course, through each page. Each page represents a department. Not every line item, obviously, we could reduce. Most line items we did not increase. Some we have to drop, depending on what they are, but most you'll see that they were decreased. So, yeah.
The printing and publishing, is that both the mainstreamers as well as the newsletter that's sent out?
On this page?
Yes.
No, that is under this, the mainstreamers newsletter comes out of the senior printing and publishing, I believe, which is on page 7. They have their own printing and publishing line item, and that is $12,500. Let me see if we reduced that from last year.
So is that the newsletter?
Yes. That was reduced. That was reduced by, need a ruler, sorry. That was reduced by $2,000. We also have our department heads here. Obviously, I'm pretty well versed in all the departments, but they can probably answer more very specific questions than I can. But we're all here if you have any questions. But and kind of like Laura said, you know, we can still make changes, but we work on this all year. We meet with the department head. We go over every line item. A lot of things come out of each line item. So we probably spend 6 to 9 months. Once the budget's passed, we start looking at the budget for next year. So we're like always working on the budget.
I'm going to add to a couple of things that Dana said. First of all, the senior, we had meetings with each department, 2 or 3 meetings. So with respect to the senior department, as had been mentioned by Dana, by the consolidation and willingness of Maureen to operate with 4 people and not replace, it saved $113,000. The line item went down $14,000. So the line item, the other very significant in the seniors was that the line item for special programs was reduced by approximately $5,000. The line item for computer tech support was reduced. The line item, one of the things that I've said at previous meetings, but now you can actually see the results. And I don't know if Dana mentioned this, but one of the things we're really proud of, well, several things. The new system I implemented with Dana and Vicki has taken charge of this, and this is the ordering of office supplies in bulk. So you're going to see an across department huge reduction in the line items for office supplies. One supplier, obviously you get a discount. Obviously, if there's some special need somewhere, someone can do it. The other thing was with respect to the printing publishing, it had been my idea to reduce the pages from 8 to 6 and increase the advertising revenue. So we were able to do that, but still, but had to add an issue while still reducing that line item, because I had the idea to clean up the list. Previously, we had been sending to P.O. boxes and commercial addresses, and I thought that was a complete waste of money. Cleaning those up allowed this reduction of the line item without sacrificing telling our residents who don't have computers, who aren't able to access the senior newsletter or Rich's newsletter. So the feedback on that has been tremendous. So I'm really proud of the office supply, the way that's been happening, and the phone system saved the phone system and the paychecks are two other things that you'll see reflected in your line item, the savings on this. With the paychecks system, before we had the paycheck system, employees would do handwritten timesheets. So that implicated at least 15 minutes of their time. Then they had to calculate their carryover and their vacation. So the paychecks was a contract we already had. All we did was enhance the contract. Because we were an existing client, we got an excellent deal. We utilized in-house resources, Denise and Vicki, to go around and train everybody. It also cuts down on any employee, like they have to log in, so you know where they are. And it's a far more modern system. You don't have to email anymore, like I want to take the day off. There's an automated system where you put it in. And that actually ended up saving quite a bit of money. With respect to the general town fund, I think Dana went over a lot of the highlights. I also would like to point out, though, that the switching of banks, at Denise's suggestion, raised our interest income by almost double. We switched to Chase, so our interest income revenue went from $5,500,000 to $12,000. We also reduced building and grounds maintenance because we took things in-house that were outsourced by thousands. Again, special programs was reduced $5,000, and the computers we did on a rollout basis. So now I believe everybody has their updated computer, and so that cost is a huge savings. That we're not operating on a Windows 98 computer. Or a dollar that was happening before. Again, you'll see in administration where office equipment, office supplies, small equipment went down $15,000. You'll also see that, like Dana said, some line items, cleanup projects, single hauler, that went down substantially. The building, there were some projects we had anticipated doing, or Carol had anticipated doing. So there had been a $55,000, and now it's $35,000. We did not do those projects. We also reduced the contingency. We always have a contingency for any emergency. We reduced that from by $50,000. So those are some highlights of the administration. And similarly, Rich's department in Maine State. Reductions, consultation, staff training. We took it in-house. Rich developed programs where he brings speakers in here, and that qualifies, what's it called, Rich? CEU?
Yes.
Okay. So that line item went down. We reduced the line item for mileage, travel, lodging. And for printing publishing, again, 3,000 to 1,700. Computer tech support, 1,500. Office supplies, 6,000 reduction. So really, I'm very pleased that these departments followed this directive. OEM reduced rate. The OEM went down in everything. I didn't know if there was a timer telling me to stop talking. Which is soon. But OEM, other than miscellaneous, which was $200, went down in every line item. So, and the biggest one being, which I think, we'll probably have to address at a future meeting, is that Dagmar had always operated with an assistant in case Dagmar has an emergency or needs to go out of town. And unfortunately, we've had a lot more disasters than we can really, with the flooding and the snow and whatnot. So that may be the subject of future board meetings. We used to have Marv, who had been with us, and he passed away a few years ago, and we did not replace him. Again, last year, I'm sorry. Time is really moving fast and slow at the same time. General assistance, we reduced a lot.
Yeah, I just realized I
Yes,
just messaged
that's what I wanted to remind you.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit the highlights of general?
Sure, we overall reduced GA by 90,000. You have to remember GA is way smaller than town funds, and it doesn't sound as good as $250,000, but GA is a much smaller budget. But again, reduced by a total of 90,000 between the two sections, admin and relief and contingency. 6,800 in admin, 68,000 in home relief, and contingency we brought down 15,000. Contingencies used to be 35, we made 20,000. Again, it starts on page 9. If you want to take a quick look, you'll notice again almost every line item under contractual services has gone down. Conference and meetings. Legal services, so I need a ruler, sorry. Staff training.
And the other thing with the general assistance, the salary went down. The salaries went down.
Yes,
because
correct.
We gave up 3 part-time line heat positions that I felt that this existing staff could absorb, and they did absorb. Their postage, we went down a lot because I stopped 2, I think I talked about this back in August, 2 very expensive mailers that were begging the LIHEAP people that hadn't signed up the first time, but the LIHEAP people get plenty of notice, and we have continued to be, considered the best place or the most well thought of in terms of dealing with for those of you who don't know, LIHEAP is low income housing and energy assistance program. And so those 3 part-time were cut, as well as a person in the food pantry, and so the food pantry person, Carol, is on her own, and We took away Nick Camille. He had been under general assistance, getting paid out of general assistance. He's now in recovery connection and lends back 15 hours, as you guys remember from the August meeting. So all of that really contributed to vast reduction in the general assistance without sacrificing services.
You want to turn to page 2, home relief. Page 10, under contractual services, we drastically reduced a lot of those line items. The first one, medical services, that went from 15 to 5, so we took $10,000 off of that line item. Ambulance, 2,000, which we kind of looked in the last couple of years. We want to keep that open in case we have to use it, but we haven't used it. So when we do that, we just put $1 in it just to keep it open. So that's what we did. We just put $1 in there. Client utilities, that went from 10,000 to 6,000, so we took 4,000 off of there. Food went from 50,000 to 40,000. I mean, you can see almost every line item went down. If you go to the bottom, shelter rent went from 100 to 75, so we just took 25,000 just off of that one line item. I think almost every line item went down. I'm not sure anything went up. So you can just, obviously you can see for yourself, all the way down, you're able to kind of cut and drastically. And then contingency, also, you're able to, let's see, what's contingency? Yeah, 15, we cut that in half. Contingency was 30, we cut that in half to 15 at the bottom. So was 1,039,605, we brought that down total to 949,607.
And also, I'd like to point out that this whole draft graph is based on, if a 15% increase was expected in health insurance costs. Well, so this will go down even further.
We always, okay, so the timing is never good with the health insurance, so.
But that's why we're doing it in May.
Right.
Because we will have the numbers.
So Catherine Spire, our health insurance broker, will be here in April to talk to you. She should have numbers that come in, what percentage it's going to go up. But we don't have that right now. So what we always do, she always says guess high. So we always put in 15%. It rarely ever comes out to 15%. It's I would say 95% of the time much lower than that. But I use 15% because we don't want to under budget health insurance. So this is using 15%. But again, it's not going to be 15%. It's highly unlikely.
Last year was 4.8%.
Exactly.
And now with some retirements, it is expected that, especially moving to some of the single and people, and obviously there's information protected by HIPAA that, we don't get claim information. But even the year before that was 11%. The 3 years was a big one because Blue Cross had sort of forgotten us and didn't raise us for quite a few years.
We had one big year, but everything else has been 4%, 7%, 1 year was 9%.
And she doesn't expect it to be any.
No, so all health insurance line items are going to go down, is our point.
Which is why this is a draft.
It's a draft, yeah.
And like a budget works.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot the clerk's department. Clerk's department also reduce line items in everything from
Clerk is on page 4.
do you please turn to page 4. In our meeting with Pete, myself, and Dana. Yeah, their salary stayed the same, the line item. And then under, I'm looking, I have so many damn things. Again, printing, publishing, the computer tech support, the office supplies, the minor travel, lodging expenses, all of those line items went down, dues and subscriptions, print management, those things all went down. I mean, the clerk's office is still only $36,800. So, in the clerk's office, each individual person took on, just like everywhere else, took on many hats, if you will, and had a lot more business. Is that a fair way to put it?
It's been busy, yes, absolutely.
So those are some of the highlights. Oh, Chris, do you have anything to add? You want to describe, the audit process or anything?
I can describe the audit process.
Trustee McKenna.
Dana, do you have a report, I'm sure that you looked at what the actual expenses were for each line item and coming up with the budget, at least
That's how we do it.
assuming, yeah. So can we see that side by side, or is that difficult to do?
The actuals, those are the
That's what you're
spreadsheets we give
saying.
you.
So I just look at February 28th.
Yep.
But you didn't do that, you didn't compare.
I'm sorry.
You don't have a schedule showing last year's budget, last year's actual, current budget.
Well, what we do is when we have our meetings, we wait until February, so we have our total actual numbers for the whole fiscal year. And that's what we do. We see exactly what was spent in each line item. If something was over budgeted, under budgeted, I mean, that's how we do determine, was something over cushion, was it under, I mean, some things are under, some things are over, and every line item is different. Some things we go over, some things we go under, so
I guess I'm not being clear.
Yeah.
So my question
Claire,
is-
so you get the year-to-date
Yeah.
actual in every board packet?
Yeah, I do every month.
Right?
Yes,
And
that's
so
what I asked
what
you
we
for.
did,
Right.
remember I made a promise to you guys that we would be doing this on a much more actual basis versus, last year we had to, for lack of a better word, I hate the word cushion, but we didn't know what the board was going to be, what projects we were going to necessarily be doing. So that's what I insisted on doing, was taking the actual number. We sat with Denise in every one of the meetings, and she would look up historically the actual number for the last 2 years. All of that is on the website, and also in the year-to-dates that you get. Right.
Yes.
Correct.
But
So-
you don't have a report that shows this column, right? I mean, I'm assuming these are
I have
Excel
those every-
spreadsheets.
Yes, I have them from every year going back.
So,
I
and
can
this
say
is an
like
Excel
in
spreadsheet, right?
February, we have each other from every year. Is that
No,
what
no, no. Is this on Excel?
Yes,
And this is on Excel?
that's not on Excel, yes, I'm sorry, yes, that's on Excel.
So can you, the new one, can you just plop in this year-to-date disbursement column into these so that we know on one sheet what the difference is? Because otherwise I'd have to go look and do this. It's just another thing. I mean, you can send the Excel spreadsheets to me and I can do it.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like what's on page 33 of
You
the
just want to know the
audit.
difference between what the actual and what we're budgeting?
Yeah, where it's got the budget and the actual.
Well, why don't we
Yeah.
take her up on the offer? We'll send the
Okay,
Excel
yeah.
spreadsheets, and she can do it.
Yeah, sure, I'll email them, absolutely.
Because we're very short-staffed in terms of.
Okay, sure.
No problem.
If the auditors
Since we have 2
any of
months.
this,
Yeah,
If the auditors had this
And then you
prepared
know.
beforehand, on page 33 of our audit, it showed the budget numbers and the
Right.
actual numbers and the variance.
Right,
So
Susan,
all-
I think we have it resolved, so
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
send
I'll
it
send
to
it to
Claire,
her.
and Claire
Absolutely.
can,
Okay, take your time.
since she's an audit, you know.
Right, it's not be here tomorrow, I'll do it for you today.
You don't have to do it today.
Yeah, well,
I'm not gonna be doing it tomorrow.
okay.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions of Chris? Our fantastic new auditor?
Oh, I do have a question. So with the supervisor's report, I'm assuming that you helped with the supervisors.
Correct, I can review it, yes.
So I was just trying to reconcile between the monthlies and the supervisor's annual report. I mean, they're close, but when they're not the same, can you explain why they wouldn't be the same?
Yeah, I think Denise can explain some too. There were some things that happened after your
The
last
meeting?
meeting, correct, through accruals. So those won't be included in your monthly report. Those will be just not included in the audit. And I can explain those when I do the audits, the differences between, if you'd like, from your last, between the treasurer's report and audit, and then between your monthly financial statement that you received to the audit as well.
So there's only one that's material, in my view, and that is the general town fund. And it's too close to the transfer to other fund of 400,000 to make me think that it doesn't have something to do with that. But when I looked at the monthly disbursements, the 400,000 transfer is included in there. So I can't figure out what the 400,000, it looks like.
That was the one to the highway department last April?
But I don't think that's it, because it's included in the disbursements.
It came to, it was voted on last April, but it actually wasn't transferred till June.
Right.
Now, I don't, do you know what the difference is?
I mean, so are you asking, is the difference exactly 400,000? Because I didn't really
No, I don't
participate
think
in
so.
the difference between.
And the
your last
400,000
one
is
and
separately stated. I'll just tell you right now what it is. If I can see. $463,497.
And Denise is what, there's some, we did the additional accrual, maybe?
Right, I mean, at some point, I am putting things back into February. I will do that for 2 months, because we're in accrual. So, there's probably some things that might have gone into the account, and when we did the, when was it on, just last week, when we did that, and we ran the financials, you would have some more money in it, there would be a little difference. Because some bills were paid, and that's our accounts payable, that were put back into February that were paid in March.
Would it be easier for you to see the new financials? If you reran financials as of February 28th, you would see they would match the treasury report.
They're close, but there are going to be some differences because there were bills put back.
Isn't it true that the way that works is if an invoice is sent in before the preliminary audit in March, but the goods and services were provided in February,
Right, if,
that's,
That would be on accounts payable.
it's not
right,
going
we
to be
can
paid
get
until
a bill
the
that is actually a February bill in March,
Correct.
so that it isn't paid. So what you do is you put that back in there as an accounts payable, you put it back in February, but it gets paid at the March meeting, March 14th.
Okay, so, I mean, would that only be for the general town fund? Because it's not, I mean, I don't see it in general assistance, I don't see it in the highway.
whatever it was.
I mean, there's a huge discrepancy, there's a huge difference between the year-to-date disbursements, and this is, if we're looking at cash versus accrual, I understand,
Right.
but I would think that you have some kind of schedule that shows what it is, right? I mean, if you're going from cash to accrual, you probably have a schedule.
Right.
Do you have one for this?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
So we get, and I'm guessing this must be cash, right? The year-to-date disbursements?
We also got
These monthly sheets we get in our packets.
Yes, that is what has been paid. No, actually, if it's accrued, that could be something that's accrued in that month, but paid in the next month.
Right.
It's what has been, what bills have been charged against the line items.
Okay, so then what I'm asking is why, is there something that reconciles between the year-to-date disbursement column in the monthly packet and the supervisor's annual financial statements? How do you reconcile? What do you think?
Exactly what Chris
I'm not even sure
I don't-
what you're referring to, but we do have financials that reconcile to the treasurer's report.
where it matches exactly.
Exactly.
I don't know what the treasurer's report is. Is
That's
that-
what we just approved.
That's what I just
annual
read.
report? Okay.
Well, there's a backdated.
Our supervisor
We
report,
have
I
a
apologize.
backdated report.
I'm sorry, did you want to be recognized?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just saying that things would have had to be,
Can you tell us your name?
oh, Donna Adam, Miss Lanes. There would have to be a backdated report of all of those items that equal
There is.
400. And that's what she is asking for.
Which is,
Right, we have that. All that's happening, there's things that happen after you receive that
Right.
report that now has changed.
for example, we received,
Supervisor report.
we
The
received,
PPRT that when.
right, the personal property replacement tax.
So we can get you that.
We
That would be
received,
great.
we
Sure,
received,
I'll wait for the big one.
Yeah. that's-
but the big one, here's the thing, we received we received certain personal property replacement tax as well as, well, and they were very large. And they
So
won't
revenues
be next
have
year.
gone up since the
So-
time you've seen the report.
Right, and that was what I was referencing last time about that you capture the new construction. That won't happen next time because, we lowered the levy. So, so the clerk's office sent checks on February 28th, March 1st, March 3rd, I think it was, and some of those get put back because they were personal property replacement tax having to do with the fiscal year. So yes, he can give you what you want, it's just, you guys,
I'll just have to
this
see
meeting
what
was
you're looking at.
for
Right,
draft.
I'll
just
give you
run, we should just run
reconciliation.
new income,
Yeah.
profit and loss income statements. And
Right.
they
Which
will-
will match the.
And that will match.
Supervisor report.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Trustee Snell?
Thank you. Going back to the senior and adult services on page 7, you had referenced that we had saved 113,000. And I'm just wondering how that's reflected in this, or that we reduced it 113. Because the difference, the difference between the 461 and the 384 is like 77,000. Or the difference between salaries alone.
Well, you can't look at salaries and then you have to look at health insurance. But you also have to
Right.
remember the 15% arbitrary increase in health insurance. So if you recall, when we had the executive session and then the open session with respect to Marie, we gave you an exact printout. If you want to reference back to that meeting, it's listed in that meeting as well as the supporting documents, that the fact that we didn't replace Marie. So there was the savings from, Mary's salary was 88 or so, and Marie's is not, like 30,000 less. And then the health insurance went from employee and spouse to family, actually. But we didn't replace Marie's job, so that's a whole job that is gone.
With insurance.
With insurance. That is gone, so those cost savings were realized back when we did it. If that answers your question. But it crosses across many line items, I guess is how I'm trying to answer this.
Yeah, she's asking why is it not exactly $113,000 difference? That could have been two. Maybe we went over slightly that line item last year.
Right, it's 114, that's
Yeah,
the difference,
right.
so it's $1,000 difference.
So you factored in health insurance and IMRF and differentiation?
When we presented the cost savings, we didn't even give you a cost savings in IMRF, which is an additional savings, which probably accounts for the $1,000. We were being concerned. I mean, the overall picture is that, that they, 5 people, moved to 4 and at much lower salaries, and also reduced the line items for various. You also have to keep in mind that the senior department, I would say 90%, is not funded by the township. It is self-funding. The seniors pay for it. So all those programs, the senior pays for it. So what's funded, I mean, we have Senior Expo, which is our big thing, and I want to remind everybody, April 20th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And, Marie has been working really hard on this, and her staff. And the other thing is she does her own newsletter, which she does electronically, and also sends to people that don't have computers. But they've also instituted a new, everybody's going to be sharing, like the computer list Rich is having when we move over to the new website, and have that all done, because then a resident can go to the website and pick, like, do I want the senior newsletter? Do I want the Maine State newsletter? Do I want hard copies? Do I want, or do I want my mail out? Do I want to, and also the seniors are still getting, we invested in a program to, if you want to explain that program.
We will be updating as soon as this expo is over. We do have a company that's already working on an updated access program that we have had, but now it will give us better statistics and everything. And we, as well, come this May, as soon as the expo is over, we're going to go through a purging kind of program as well. There are seniors that may be getting a newsletter that will no longer want one. So we're going to be sending out the new application waivers to everybody, regardless, and asking, would you like to receive it electronically again or hard copy? So we will be updating all that as well. So that probably will drop down the costs as well, because the younger seniors would probably like it electronically.
And Marcia has done that. Marcia and I had a project where I had 2 staff in her office under her direction. It had been thought for generations that, people on GA didn't have an email. But I had 2 people, they called each and every person who, there was a violin or had interacted, and was able to actually get emails from a huge amount of people. So she's also installed visual access. And so it's all going to be together and have the ability where it will, like as Marcia, you may have walked in late, I'm not sure, saved a ton of money on the postage and the printing. And that's the reason. And Marie's department, Senior Expo is the premier
Well, we actually this year,
in the state.
right, and we've actually went out and got a lot of donations for
Oh,
a lot
that's
of
right,
programs
right.
as well. And sponsors are getting 90 plus for the birthday celebration.
Right.
We have, I think, like $1,500 as of right now. We're still waiting for another check. Of agencies like Generations or Ashbury Court who do want to sponsor the luncheon. So we'll advertise their name in the newspaper. We'll have a pamphlet with all their information, thanks to our sponsor banner and everything. They'll be pinning on the pins to the celebrants at the 90 plus. So we're trying to get more money from companies that want to participate in our programs.
So for clarification, the printing and publishing is just the newsletter, the 12,000 you spent on the newsletter, right? And
No,
then
no, I can add to that, no, I'll add to that, so.
the Senior Expo's not part of that. That's
So,
under special.
that's also like, if their department need, it's anything that they need, we parcel it out, like business cards, letterhead, things like that. I mean, that's not too often, but it's any type of printing that any of the staff in the senior department might need. So it's mainly the newsletter,
And
but it
then
could be anything
mailings
else.
for the Senior Expo is under the special programs of 7,500, and then 90th birthday celebration, is that right?
So we got more sponsors. Marie had the idea to get outside sponsors for the senior birthday, which is the only top program funded by the township. And to lower the costs of some of the things that had been, birthday cake, flowers,
He likes donating all the cheesecake for dessert.
Exactly. Like she went out and solicited sponsors.
I was happy to see that he was sponsored.
Yeah, and has
I was
been doing
happy to
that
see
for the
that.
lunches too.
Sponsors for it, not that.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and that's why I'm so proud, that we chose her because, that's all her. And she's also done this, is doing this with the luncheons too. To save, although the seniors pay for this, but still having a sponsor, makes it even more invested in the community and makes the cost, less. So I commend her on that.
I just want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out. So for envelopes, also comes out of printing and publishing. We use Quinn Printing, Press Tech, that's obviously their newsletter.
And we use volunteers who come in.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, and a lot of volunteers. How many volunteers do we get for that, for the main one?
For the main,
Yeah.
for the main,
Yeah.
there's probably about 28 to 30 people that
Okay.
come every month to the main. And now that we're short, well, not really short-staffed, but we consolidated, we have seniors coming in and opening up the mail to help us out.
What was everything under special programs?
Okay, special programs, 90+ birthday party. Looks like it's mainly 90+ birthday party.
I do have the pocketbook calendar, but I think the Brookdale will be
The
signed.
calendars that you give out?
From the special
Okay.
programs, but Brookdale last time had their logo on it.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Calendars they give to the seniors. They have movies once a month. They do movies once a month. So it's food for the movies. They got popcorn and hot dogs, things like that. Denise, am I missing anything? Social programs?
All right, is there any public comment? I recognize Ryan McKenzie.
Ryan McKenzie from Parkridge, Illinois. I've been in business for a long time, like 70 years, but I've never experienced a budget discussion where you compare budget to previous year's budget. It makes no sense to me. So when you compare numbers that are from last year's budget to this year's budget, and say reduce this, reduce that, it's not a reflection of actual. And in fact, one of the statements that was made is that the general assistance expenses are down from last year. When in reality, if you look at the actual general assistance expenditures on the report that you read, they're $854,805. And on the budget that is your draft, I understand, they're $934,000, so they're actually higher than the actual expenditures from last year. So when you say you're reducing it, as a person sitting in the audience, I clearly do not understand it.
What
Public comment is, I'm sorry, I think, I'm not gonna have a debate.
I'm not debating.
Oh, that's okay.
I made my comment.
I appreciate it. I will say this, that the trustees had asked for having the last year's budget next to this year's. So that was done at the request of the trustees. And I agree with you, which is why we have 15 to 20 meetings for hours upon hours, and why figures were changing, hourly, because we looked at actual. But they do have actual in the year-to-date reports. Those are all on the website. And so when you look at the overall GA, it absolutely is down. The preliminary is absolutely down. The bottom line number. I don't, I'm sorry, Donna?
I've been to several of the meetings, and you have talked a lot about cost savings. And I just wanted to thank you because I can see that, not just in this budget meeting, but every other meeting that we've had, that you are focusing on cost savings, and you're also focusing on efficiencies, and also making life better for the employees, all at the same time. And, I think that's great, and I'm glad to hear it, and I'm glad to see that it's translating into, cost savings.
I appreciate that. That's exactly what we tried to do, is I wanted to keep my promise. I remember when I told Trustee McKenzie that I was shooting for 10%, you were shocked. And, across each department, but they did more, and once you get started. But, it really is all the staff. I also included in their board packets, I think the last time, and it's online, each department did like a whole list of cost efficiencies. So it's the staff that does them and is willing, takes on more duties for the same amount of time. And I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Can you please tell us?
Yes, Joe Egan, Park Ridge. I've got a couple of comments or suggestions. And my comments and suggestions really come from, as a citizen, number one. And number two, the suggestions come from being the previous president of the library board, current vice president of the library board. I also have been serving on the firefighters pension board for 7 or 8 years now. So I'm familiar with this type of setting. I do appreciate Trustee McKenzie requesting the comparison of last year's actuals to this year's budget. I have always found that very beneficial. I appreciate you volunteering to do it, but as a citizen, I would like to see that too, just not trustees, because that's really the comparison needs to be made, is the actuals to budgets. So that's my first comment or suggestion. Second, I went back and looked at the general town fund beginning balance for the last 4 years, and there's been an increase in that fund balance at the beginning of the year every year. We are now up 25% on that general fund balance in 25 years. I'm sorry, 4 years. On the road fund, it's up, I think, even more. The question I have on that is there, before I get to my comments, is there a stated policy on the fund balance and what that amount should be?
Okay, so generally, and of course I know who you are, generally I don't, engage in, question and answer, but I'm happy to do so at a budget workshop. Absolutely. There's not only a policy, there's a law. Last September, a law was passed that the fund balance cannot exceed 2.5 times the operating. And we, our auditor, we are within the numbers. And one of the reasons you run the risk when you cut, because we did get we are the lowest taxing body. So when I went and pulled like an assortment of just random, cross-section of taxes, the stated levy is 1.4 for town, and 1 point, for all three, it's 1.8. So 2 cents, less than 2 cents on the dollar. However, with the tax cap the way it is, and I'm sure you're perfectly familiar with how the property tax cap worked, we kept the levy flat. So, for example, there was a list of 14 people. 3 of their taxes went down, and 5 of them households went up. But those had to do with the local tax rate and the equalized assessed value, which are numbers beyond our control. So when you keep it flat for a certain amount of years in a row, you're going to capitalize. And as Pete explained at, I believe, the levy board meeting, we had wanted to keep it flat the final year we could, so as to, it doesn't take more out of you, it's still the same levy, but it captures the commercial, which we're not going to be doing. So yes, these are excess without question. So, our prior auditor who had recommended this, we interviewed, we did RFPs, had suggested, we've considered quite a few things. One of them was a rebate. A rebate would cost $1 million to administer. So it would end up, especially because we're not going to be getting back that kind of money anymore. And because we have cut, so many things that we are, I think that's a waste of the taxpayers' money, so we all agreed to table that. Some other proposals that the auditor had given was, I think if you remember, Maine South did the rebate, and everybody got I was a mom, everybody got $75. Well, the district had $1 million in excess revenue. They went broke doing the rebates. So that's the one thing. The other avenue was, we can establish, and Chris and I have been talking about this, either a capital fund or a restricted general fund to put some of this excess revenue in that would go towards, things like a park. The last auditor had suggested perhaps we fund a park. However, after they tried to do that in Park Ridge and it got so much controversy, I don't know, because it would be hard to figure out a place that would be acceptable to all. But it has to be, we want it for the residents. So that's the conundrum. But we are well within the law in terms of the fund balance access.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite follow what the law says about the fund balance.
2.5 times
2.5 times what?
operating.
So 2.5 times your $4.2 million that you have in the current budget?
Would you like to explain?
That's our,
Yes.
And that's by statute as of last year.
It was already a good accounting practice. So we'd already been doing that, but then Governor Rauner or the legislature had proposed it and put it into law in the township code. And I think in all municipal codes. Anybody who's on board.
The library, we carry a budget in excess. We have a fund that's 3 to 6 months operating expenses. That's all that we carry, which is plenty. The road fund is like 1.7.
Yeah, actually,
He can address that.
it is lower than 1 year operating expenses, so it's not out of line. It's probably the equivalent of 9 months.
Maybe I read your balance wrong. It looks like 1.75. Your fund balance is 1.75 times what you currently are planning to spend this year. Maybe I read it wrong. I'm not here to teach on it. But my comment is, it seems excessive as a taxpayer you would hold that amount of money. It's viewed, from the taxpayer's point of view, it's viewed as an overtaxation. It's money that is taken from the taxpayer, it's not being used. If you got $0 next year, which we know is an impossibility, you can still operate for well over a year with zero revenue. So from the taxpayer's point of view, it's excessive. Some people might view it as a slush fund. Some people view a slush fund as an opportunity for somebody to spend it. You know, it just doesn't look good. It's very bad. From the taxpayer's point of view, I don't understand why we do so. That's my comment.
I just have a question.
You're thinking about $1 million cost to give a rebate. If you haven't met the threshold, I don't understand how that can be a rebate. My thought.
Oh, no, you don't have to meet, I mean, you can always give a rebate. It's the law. I mean, maybe you're not understanding the law I'm talking about. This applies to every municipal body. The 2.5 times.
It's
So
not to exceed that.
it's not to
saying
exceed
that you
it.
could
Right.
obviously have significantly less, as you were saying, and have a year's reserve or less than that.
Right.
You
So-
could have it.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we don't know how to give it back to
Definitely
you.
look
We
at-
don't want to waste $1 million of your
No, I
money.
mean, that would make sense.
Right.
The suggestion would be,
I'm all for it.
levy less next year.
We did.
And the year after that.
Right.
And the year after that.
We did
That's
levy
what-
less.
why we-
I'm looking at your budget right now.
Budget
And
amount.
your balance is gonna go up another $100,000. So you obviously didn't cut enough from the levy. And that's
your
what the
opinion.
paper shows.
I didn't see you at the levy meeting, but,
Okay,
see-
that's a suggestion I had.
I
If
agree
that was
with-
the goal, you didn't get there.
but we don't know. Because we
You're saying you need more than $5.4 million in a fund at the beginning of the year?
Right.
You're not going to spend $4 million?
Joe, I don't think you understand, and this is gonna be the last, is that it may go even more, because of the property tax appeals that, play a large part in this. So if the property tax appeals, person, if that comes off of this money, off of that bottom line.
I'm very familiar with those.
Right,
We've been
so,
saying that for a while.
actually, between the time we started this and the time we brought this to you guys, the excess balance went down like $800,000 because we figured out, with Chris, that we put in one. So, I'm open to suggestions, feel free to email me. I want to do something on behalf of all the residents, but I also would like to wait to see, you know, what happens next year. Because you have to understand, we're on a 4-year cycle, and, but each year we have to set the levy. So, next year we'll be going out for a truth in taxation hearing, and
I appreciate, I just have one last comment, I would.
Sure.
One short one. And again, I'm new to your process. We're talking about a preliminary, or a draft. We're already into the fiscal year. It just seems odd to me, say on this side, it's not going to be until May issue, what I heard, before you're going to have a budget for this year we're already in. It just seems like behind the process. I would have thought you would have had your budget set prior to, right at the start of this fiscal year. Now, what I'm hearing is you're going to be 3 months plus into it before you set a budget. It just doesn't seem the most prudent way.
well, that was done at the request of several trustees who wanted to have this kind of meeting and have an actual sort of budget workshop, as well as it's the fiscal year. I mean, if you're not familiar with Township Code, I'm happy to meet with you and explain it. Township Code, you have to pass a budget before June 1st. So it has literally no effect. I mean, in doing it, many different bodies have a different fiscal year. I mean, I worked for the state's attorney's office for 26 years. we had a different fiscal year. Ours was done in June, and everybody got retro if we were lucky that year. So, I mean, really, there's no effect, bad. This is so that we could have as much.
Can I make just a couple comments? I mean, we passed a continuing resolution.
Right.
Obviously, that allows us to continue to, spend money. And one of the things I can just comment on is like our health insurance, and I think you just.
Right, we can't do
Yeah, we don't get our health insurance, just the timing, our health insurance numbers don't come in until the end of April. And to pass a budget without knowing, with any idea, our health insurance line items, we just would have no idea what to put in. That's kind of a big piece for our 45 employees. So it's not, sometimes we pass it in April, sometimes in May, that is only, 2 or 3 months after March 1st, I understand what you're saying, but sometimes we just don't have the information that we need to have it, to pass it until that time.
No, I understand, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
My comment was, if your fiscal year begins March 1, you should have a budget set before March 1.
Right.
You have contingencies in there, it's an estimate, but I'm just saying from a management point of view, from a budget perspective, it's best to know what your budget is before you spend it, not a quarterly. That's my comment and suggestion.
No, thank you.
Oh,
sure. Trustee
I think
Stanley,
I expressed
recognized.
that same concern in previous meetings, that, not understanding as a new trustee why we can't do more in advance of the start of the fiscal year to understand exactly the points that Joey has made tonight. So I concur that I think it's, I wish we could do more earlier. This is the very first time that we've been given preliminary draft numbers, so we've not, we have been requesting this, and, I do feel that it would be helpful, especially knowing, and to your other point, the amount that we have in surplus. Like, that would be a provision that, in an emergency with some extra healthcare costs that weren't accounted for, could be, utilized, because there is excess.
All right, so I just have to point out that I have never heard you, at a public meeting that, I know you wanted numbers, but you guys, if we did a budget that had like nothing with the insurance, you also wanted health insurance numbers. So I think that's irresponsible. As well as, what meeting did you want to fit that in? I'm perfectly well, I've already now added 4 meetings to April, so I'm not sure what meeting you wanted to fit that in.
I think to be given preliminary draft numbers, it makes sense that we could get this information without health insurance even sooner than later.
Our staff is
I'm sorry, I have to say
decimated.
something. Actually, if I can have Denise come in, we don't have our year-end fiscal numbers even in for us to even know what our line items, the end of our line item numbers would be. And actually, if I can Denise comment on that.
And also, because I have to keep putting funds and, expenses and income back in for 2 months, it's really hard to know exactly what March is, most of it is done in March, but I'm still putting stuff back in April. So if you really want something that's actual, it's not going to be on February 28th. That means we would be doing a budget at the beginning of February. So, and I still have months of it.
The budget would really be an estimate.
And also, as our auditor in the proposal, he does, their company does 16, 17 townships, and there's a schedule. So you want it audited, you can't have it all. The preliminary audit, the numbers, we wanted them to be preliminarily audited. So if we don't have actual, and we don't have a preliminary audit, what are you talking? That's why we wanted to take the time and have these department head meetings, which, thank you for Donna's comment, I think did result in a good starting point. Trustee McKenzie.
Just for clarity, I think that we're looking at the difference between last year's budget and now this year's preliminary draft. The same way that the insurance was estimated using a 15% increase just as a framework, we could have done that in February.
No, I'm sorry, we couldn't. She didn't have, we
Wait,
didn't have
I
a.
don't understand this. I
I'm sorry,
understood, maybe
this is
I
just
didn't
to
understand.
have, okay, I'm gonna, and I'm sorry, I can talk to you about it, I just don't think
Well, I wanna
it's,
just
this is
finish.
how, this is what we have
Can I
now.
just finish?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
sure.
So the line item insurance in this year's preliminary draft,
Mhm.
I thought I heard was 15% more than the line item in last year's.
No.
No, actuals,
No.
15% from actuals.
From actuals, okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes. Okay, so, any more public comment? Because you guys will have 2 months. Joe, or, I'm sorry, please tell us your name.
Stephen Gassell, I'm Iris. I just have a few questions about the municipal retirement fund and...
You mean comments, right?
Comments, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the municipal retirement fund, but I was just curious as to what I was called that as opposed to township retirement fund. And I'm not sure if I'm interpreting this correctly for the road. For the budget appropriation for the road districts, municipal replacement tax is that like a joint shared expenses for projects?
It's shared with the local municipalities.
Okay, so
They get a little bit above 50%, they get the rest.
Cool, that's,
And it's called IMRF because it's the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund.
okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? All right. So I am going to ask,
Yeah, I should comment on what I submitted to a certain extent.
really? You want to?
Yeah.
Now? After 20 questions?
Well, no, I was waiting for you to stop talking.
No, I thought this was on everybody's. All right, go ahead.
No, okay, I can see, between this draft and what's going to be presented on or before April 20th, it's a little encouraging to see that maybe I can reduce the insurance aspect of it. We can either change that before the preliminary, the actual budget is submitted or afterwards. There are 2 major expenditures that are on the high side, but the labor for roads, the stuff we're going to be paving and the sidewalks we're going to be fixing, etc. It's a little on the high side, but it may be reduced because we're in the process of getting from engineers and our director exact figures for the streets we want to do, and perhaps it can be a lower figure than the 600,000. Once we know that, we'll know before the deadline of April 20th. Also, the equipment side may be a little high. That might be able to be reduced. That's more of, a couple of these things are more of a wish list than an actuality, and that can be eliminated from the budget before April 20th. And the new auditor made a suggestion how we can take the replacement tax, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in general town fund. It can be put in a fund that has less or no surplus. So I didn't know until 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that's what Chris and I were talking.
Yeah, that
That
wasn't
would do a restricted.
that it could be transferred to a different account within the road district.
Right, you can do a restricted, we can do a
Yeah, so
restricted.
that's encouraging. And long-term, he made a couple of suggestions where the funds may be more balanced in the future. So it was a worthwhile conversation for 15 or 20 minutes before the meeting started.
Thank you.
Also, for your budget, as I think we talked about, and it's my final comment, there's all the uncertainty that you have to budget for.
Yeah,
Certain things.
I'll give you one example. We came within 5% of using up our winter labor costs because we had like $15,000 worth of overtime in February and almost that much in January because there were so many freezing rainstorms and that we went out, there was snow for 9 consecutive days, that sometimes it was only an inch or two, but you still gotta go out and salt the roads and plow somewhat, even if it's an inch or two, so. You know, I jacked up by 10,000 that particular line item because we almost reached the point of going at the -10 target. You know, unfortunately, it stopped snowing in the second half of February, so that, you know, we were within the line item, but, yeah, Laura is correct that there, you know, with the weather and other aspects and commodity prices, there probably is less certainty in the highway department than there would.
Well, we're having snow tomorrow and Friday, so.
Yeah, well, that's the new fiscal year. So
I know. But with the flooding last year, and we were lucky that it didn't reach disaster levels, but we, you know, I'm not going to get into all the details of some of the things we offered for the first time. Were very helpful in conjunction with EMA, but mostly the highway department. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm not.
Does anybody else have any comments? Trustee McKenzie.
So I know last fiscal year, 400,000 was transferred from, I think, general town fund to road. And in the annual financial statements that you just presented, road ended up having a surplus of $408,585. So now would road then send back the 400,000?
Well,
Good luck.
no, actually, we were only, what, $8,000 less than what we actually got in revenue. Now, if not spending something is evil, I don't know, but we were able to apparently not absorb that in expenditures, but that doesn't mean that it's not of use in the future. In fact, until we get these numbers straightened out, the actual presented budget on April 20th, some of the money that we're going to be spending on roads and equipment, they'll use up to $400,000. And, you know, it was essentially, you know, you can argue is 3 to 6 months worth of expenditures, proper amount. And these seminars I've been going through say 6 to 12 months is more appropriate. Well, our 1.6 million is way less than what we spend on an annual basis, so we're within that range. So I don't think our 1.6 is excessive, and that's not to say that 400,000, if anything, helped balance some of our funds, because we're top heavy in general road fund, and that may be rectified. I'm not going to make any promises. I talked to the auditor, but you know, that wouldn't be rectified until the final audit, you know, which is probably sometime in June. But perhaps we can get these funds in balance. That's part of the reason that the money was asked for. And you know, other than that, you know, I can't make an excuse for not spending money.
Oh, that wasn't my question. I didn't
She wants
want
to
you
know
to
if
spend
you're
more
going to
money.
give it back.
I'm not saying anybody should spend the money, just if it wasn't needed where it was transferred to, is there a process to put it back where it came from?
Only he could initiate that process.
Actually, it was needed.
It
because
was at the time.
If you look at the, we only have a 72,000, what is it? I got to look it up. The funds we put it in, like permanent road fund is 430,000. which is not anywhere near excessive. They have 72,206 in equipment. If we didn't spend any money on equipment, it would be 200,000 minimum, because that's where the money was put. So you can't say there was a portion of it wasn't spent. Because if it wasn't spent, it would be at least 200,000.
I think her question is, what's the mechanism if we had no tornadoes, no flooding, to get it back?
Right.
Is there a mechanism by which, although I don't know that it'd be wise to increase our, what's it called? Excess, surplus. But she's asking, is there a mechanism?
The problem, I don't know. I'd have to talk to Toy or an attorney on that one.
All right, I'm going to appreciate everybody coming out and having such great questions. And we'll be having a lot more discussion. So I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. And all in favor? Aye.